Python, continuing to next iteration in outer loop. I wanted to know if there are any built-in ways to continue to next iteration in outer loop in Python. For example, consider the code. I want this continue statement to exit the JJ loop and go to next item in the to loop. I can implement this logic in some other way, by setting a flag variable, but is there an easy way to do this, or is this like asking for too much?
Break will break the inner loop, and block 1 won't be executed. It will run only if the inner loop is exited normally.
In a general case, when you have multiple levels of looping and break does not work for you, because you want to continue one of the upper loops, not the one right above the current one, you can do one of the following. Refactor the loops you want to escape from into a function. The disadvantage is that you may need to pass to that new function some variables, which were previously in scope. You can either just pass them as parameters, make them instance variables on an object, create a new object just for this function, if it makes sense, or global variables, singletons, whatever, Or you can define inner as a nested function and let it just capture what it needs, maybe slower. Use exceptions. Philosophically, this is what exceptions are for, breaking the program flow through the structured programming building blocks, if, for, while, when necessary. The advantage is that you don't have to break the single piece of code into multiple parts. This is good if it is some kind of computation that you are designing while writing it in Python. Introducing abstractions at this early point may slow you down. Bad thing with this approach is that interpreter/compiler authors usually assume that exceptions are exceptional and optimize for them accordingly. Create a special exception class for this, so that you don't risk accidentally silencing some other exception. Something else entirely. I am sure there are still other solutions.
In other languages you can label the loop and break from the labeled loop. Python Enhancement Proposal, PEP, 3136 suggested adding these to Python but Guido rejected it. However, I'm rejecting it on the basis that code so complicated to require this feature is very rare. In most cases there are existing workarounds that produce clean code, for example using a return. While I'm sure there are some, rare, to real cases where clarity of the code would suffer from a refactoring that makes it possible to use return, this is offset by two issues: the complexity added to the language, permanently. This affects not only all Python implementations, but also every source analysis tool, plus of course all documentation for the language. My expectation that the feature will be abused more than it will be used right, leading to a net decrease in code clarity, measured across all Python code written henceforth. Lazy programmers are everywhere, and before you know it you have an incredible mess on your hands of unintelligible code. So if that's what you were hoping for, you're out of luck, but look at one of the other answers as there are good options there.
I think you could do something like this.
We want to find something and then stop the inner iteration. I use a flag system.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.